summit expedition of Colin, Aaron, and Noel Stewart to Aconcagua, which is the highest mountain in the world that's not in the Himalayas. It's 23,000 feet, or about 69, 62 meters. We elected to go as our own guides and did not hire a guide service, and in that regard we contacted with Grueling to hire a mule to transport 60 kilos of supplies up to Plaza de Mulas. That was what amount you could take up on one mule. And in that regard, on our return trip down from the summit, we donated all our extra food and other supplies to the guides and to the porters at Plaza de Mulas, so that we could lighten our loads, and also were able to use 65-pound backpacks to get down off the mountain with all of our equipment and supplies. The expedition starts out at Grueling, where we bring our duffel bags in from the airlines, and we are organizing it to go up on the mule train and also get our backpacks organized. This is Colin doing that at Grueling. We also left some of our clothes for the return trip. This is a view from Pentenis, where Grueling is, up towards the park entrance. This is the road going up to the park entrance. And as we arrive at the park entrance, you'll see this is Noel and Colin at the road leading to the gate entrance. There's a helicopter in the background that's used to rescue people off of the summit. They can go up to Plaza de Mulas, 14,400 feet. This is Colin and Aaron at the park entrance. That's the highest that rescue helicopter can proceed. These are suspension bridges crossing the river on the way to Confluence, so there's two of them. But actually cross the river many times due to all the runoff down the Aconcagua Plateau in the river from the glaciers. These are mules. You'll see that they're carrying supplies up to Plaza de Mulas. These animals, you'll notice that they're not tethered. They know the way to get up and down, and they just can follow it themselves without any guidance, although they do have gauchos that follow along and occasionally yell and scream at them if they seem like they're getting out of line. This is the trail leading up to Confluence. You'll notice it's real nice. It leads along the river. You can see in the background the mountains where Plaza de Mulas is. They're up at 14,400 feet. Colin, coming from Portland, Oregon, sea level to Confluence at 11,000 feet, or 3,350 meters, really had a tough acclimation jump to go to. And Confluence is a little camp that's 11,000 feet. It doesn't look it here, but it's a nice camp. It has plenty of water, and even some tourists come up and just go to Confluence and hang out and camp just because it's a beautiful kind of a little trip up there. And we had started to experience some acclimation difficulties at Confluence, especially Colin coming from Portland. This is on the way up the Aconcagua Plateau. It's 12,300 feet, or about 3,750 meters. It's just very interesting terrain. You'll notice there's 5,300 meter peaks everywhere you look. They're just so cool and interesting. You can't believe the scenery that you're seeing, but I guess you had expected being in the Andes. This is Aaron. He's taking a break at Pablo's Rock, doing a little rock climbing, and it's also where we sought some shelter from a hailstorm on our return trip from the summit. You'll see as the plateau starts to ramp up as it approaches Plaza de Mulas, and the Aconcagua Plateau hike is just a difficult, grueling, tough climb, and you're at higher elevations than you've probably been, or up to the upper elevations you've maybe been. You can see here it gets steeper and rockier as it approaches Plaza de Mulas. You're just happy to arrive at Plaza de Mulas. I mean, by the time you get there, you bend over, you tie your shoes, and you're out of breath, and it just seems a real challenge at 14,400 feet. And yet they have a lot of amenities there. There's got internet and phone. Even you can get a shower for 25 bucks, but then you have to put your dirty clothes back on. This is a view of the summit aspect on the west. You can't actually see the summit, but you're about 9,000 foot elevation differential from Plaza de Mulas up onto that summit. You see incredible things. The glaciers are just amazing. Here's one that's 250 feet deep, and just incredible view. You can also see the Pentenis. They're little ice glaciers. They're several hundred meters across, and just incredible to see. They'll even support 2-ton boulders, of which Noel's standing on one of these. And you see this, and you just know that these are thousands, maybe millions of years old, and it's just incredible to be there and see them. I mean, it's so interesting, this trip. This is the view up towards Canada where we were proceeding. You see how the terrain starts to steepen up going up there. This is Colin hanging out on another glacier by Canada. These are just everywhere you look. I mean, you expect to see them in the Andes, I guess, but when you actually see them in the spectacular vistas of them, it's just incredible to be there and actually see them. We actually had to melt ice several times, including at Camp Canada that didn't have any water. This is Canada. And again, up at Nido, we had to break ice off the glacier and melt it to get our water. And we only spent one night at Canada and then moved up because of our itinerary and weather concerns. Moved up to Nido. This is our little tent at Canada. You'll know how it's not a great tent, but it's worked real well for us up there. We had it lashed down to rocks. This is viewing back down. You can see Canada. You can see Alaska, which is the lower formations of rock down there. This is Camp Nido. It's at 18,200 feet, or about 5,445 meters. And this is where we mounted our summit bid, which was usually not done. Usually you go to Berlin, which is a higher camp at 19,500 feet. In this west, you can see in this left of this picture, that's Camp Berlin, where that lower rock formation is. That's usually where people go to mount their summit bid and the most preferred route. We did it from Nido and had to do an Alpine-start at 3:30 a.m. in the morning with headlights. We were ghostly creatures leaving the camp in the early morning hours and heading up to Berlin and up to the summit ultimately. This is views back on, you can see these are 5,300 meter peaks. They just look small at this 20,000 foot elevation where Colin's taking a little break here. And by this time we're heading on our way up to about 20,000 foot elevations on our way to Independencia, which is 21,000 feet. And you're already at levels of altitude you've never been before. This is Noel taking a break on the way up to Independencia. Independencia is sometimes just referred to or called the shack because of this little dwelling here. It's 21,000 feet. We had a French climber join us, but then he left and turned around and went back. He just couldn't stand any more altitude and had to go back down. By this time you're approaching 20,500, 21,500, 22,000 feet. And after Independencia, soon after that is when you dig out and get your crampons on and start going up the snowpack and spikes. You get more enthused to getting your crampons on to head up the snowpack. You're going up the Grand Acario now, and you can see how the Grand Acario, behind that background you can see the Candeleta. It's about 1,500 feet of the Candeleta with 30 to 40 degree aspect, really steep, and you don't want to come off of that or you're going to have about a 500 meter slide into rocks. It'll probably put you in a body bag or definitely in an emergency situation. You can see here how the Grand Acario leads up into the Candeleta, up into these cliffs, and the Candeleta is about a 1,500 meter climb up to the summit. By then you're on snowpack, and the snowpack is increasing. You can see here Colin's taking a little break on the Grand Acario just before he's just going into the Candeleta. The Candeleta was really tough, like I say, 30 to 40 degree aspect climb, and you want to be not fuzzy headed at this altitude, at this climb, because you don't want to come off the Candeleta. At times it feels like your heart's going to pound out of your chest and you just can't get enough air, but then finally you see the summit and you get renewed enthusiasm and you scramble over this kind of big rock formations. We didn't even take our crampons off and suddenly we're at the summit. Here's Colin at the summit hanging out. He made it sea level to 23,000 foot elevation. He did a great job of acclimation. We were really proud of his efforts. And Aaron was our guide and organizer of the trip. He did such a great job. We're so proud of all he did to make it possible that we could summit. Aaron and Colin are just great mountaineers. They've climbed the Matterhorn, they've climbed Rainier, they've climbed the Grand, a lot of mountains, and they're just excellent mountaineers, excellent skills, and they were able to organize this and put it all together and make it available so that I, as their father, could accompany them on this trip to go up on the summit of Aconcagua. This is Noel and Colin on the summit, and we had about 30 or 40 minutes, and then the clouds started rolling in, the weather started rolling in. We had to leave. we just felt so blessed to be up on there. 4 days after leaving Plaza de Mulas, we were on the summit. Usually this is a 10-day acclimation process. We had some insight and understanding that we felt blessed to be able to do this in such a short time, and it was just so beautiful up there that you could even see where the Pacific Ocean was, just all these beautiful features and terrain on top of the world, the highest people in the world on the summit. Nobody's on Everest at that time.